Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is 9 o'clock on Friday, and you know what that means. This is this week's episode of Friday Friends, where I, Deb Burton, Executive Director of RI Elder Info, talk to people who are doing interesting things that you or someone you know needs to know about. So make sure you hit the like button, the share button, the bells, all those social media things that tell people that they really need to check this out on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, your podcast, wherever you may be listening. All of those things, because we're talking to a founder of a cool program that I met when RI Elder Info was still just a little baby tiny organization. And this woman is an absolute rock star. So I want to get the word out so more people know. So again, hit the like, the share, all those things, share it out to the community, because you never know who you may be helping. Now, as you all know, you hear me every week say this, I am really grateful to the support of RI Elder Info's sponsors. So a big thank you to Point 32 Health and to Aetna, to United Healthcare, also to Oak Street Health, and to England Studio and 321 Media, and all of our individual donors and sponsors. It makes a difference. You are helping us change lives, and we are eternally grateful. So I thank all of our sponsors, all of our donors for enabling us to do this every week for you. So this week, I would like to welcome Lima Remillard from Empower Spinal Cord Injury. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Deb.
So we met like way back in the day when RI Elder Info was a baby organization, and Empower Spinal Cord Injury was moving along at such a quick clip. So can you tell everyone, what is Empower Spinal Cord Injury? What do you do? Why did you start it?
Sure. So Empower Spinal Cord Injury is it's really a response to some of the gaps that exist in our healthcare and rehab industry. So most people think that when you're severely injured, that there is going to be a very direct path to your care. But unfortunately, a lot of the services that you might receive in the hospital setting after a catastrophic injury, like a spinal cord injury, they have a limit, or they only work on survival skills. So we thought it was really important to have a really intensive program that was holistic, coming at the injury from a lot of different aspects, so from not just the physical piece, but the mental piece, and getting back to thriving and living and not just surviving. So getting back to those things that make us who we are as human beings. So we provide intensive summer programs. We have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, where we bring people together who have these injuries from all over the country, and we give them a second chance at rehab when they've had the opportunity to be back home after the hospital setting, after rehab, and when they have a better understanding of what they want the next step of life to be like after this injury, or maybe they're ready to explore that and they're not sure yet. So we take skilled clinicians from all over the country, coming from some of the main rehab hospitals, and we bring resources in that also are very specific to this population, from adaptive recreation to rehabilitation counseling, vocational counseling, and other sources like service animals that could be game changers. But instead of requiring people to spend all of their free time looking for all of this information, we bring it into one space. So people have the opportunity to try all these things. So, and I think more than anything, we create a community of people. So people have a network that they may have not had immediately following their injury.
So is it specific to individuals who have sustained a spinal cord injury? So they're paralyzed in some kind of way?
Yeah, so, but that might be from disease. So not just traumatic spinal cord injury. So if someone has transverse myelitis or maybe have had a spinal tumor and they present the same way, that's who we're seeing. But we do specialize in spinal cord injury specifically.
And you said that the healthcare industry is really focused on the survival piece. And what kinds of fun things can folks do for their lives and for their interests with Empower S.C.I?
Yeah, so we try to offer a wide range of recreational experiences that people can explore, see if they like, and then also understand what they might need after and they're back in their own community. So, what types of equipment? So, we kayak, we surf, we hand cycle, we do yoga. We've done interpretive dance, we've painted, we've brought in photography and fly fishing. So the list really goes on, but it's really just about exploring what's possible and how do you tangibly do that.
And see, that's, I think, one of the things that has always stood out to me is when we first met, one of the things that you had shared was that an individual might want to get an adaptive vehicle, but nobody went to driver's ed to learn how to drive an adaptive vehicle. So how do you actually do that? And how do you see if that's what you want? And that was one of the opportunities that Empower S.C.I offered to folks.
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's about the pathway and understanding how, post-injury, do you get set up with a driving eval? How do you get a vehicle? So although we don't do that process, a lot of our mentors who come and volunteer at the program, they have vehicles or they've been through the process themselves. So they're able to showcase their vehicle, what specific adaptations work for them. Some people have a drop down lift, other people have a chair that comes all the way out of the driver's side to ground level. And how did they get funding to pay for those vehicles? So peer mentoring is a huge part of our program. So individuals who have that lived experience can share how it was for them and the steps that they took and the pitfalls that our participants can avoid on the same journey.
What I think it's interesting that when you leave the hospital, there isn't a lot of conversation about what's next. Once your rehabilitation from a medical insurance standpoint comes to an end, there's not a lot of conversation beyond that. And what was it that motivated you to be a co-founder of this organization? What's your origin story?
My origin story. Well, it actually goes back to when I was an occupational therapy student. So as you know, I'm an occupational therapist by training. And when I was a graduate student, I volunteered for a summer program that's no longer in existence, but had a similar mission and served a similar population. And one of the individuals that I worked with at the time was actually my age, maybe 2 years older. And his injury had happened when he was in college. So he had already stepped away from his mom and being under her roof, and then had this catastrophic injury from a diving accident, and then had to, needed his mom to help him with his basic self-care needs. And When I met him at that summer program, he still needed a lot of help with personal self-care. So just the basics, like showering, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been through the entire continuum of care. So he had actually had 2 inpatient rehab stays. He had had home care. He had outpatient. He had done some specialized S.C.I, like fitness training. You know, across the country, they have these gyms that are focused on walking and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, here he had gone through all of that, but still wasn't as independent as he wanted to be, and was still relying on his mom at an age where he should be breaking free and sort of exploring his own autonomy. But then after 4 weeks at that program, he really flourished, and he went on to get multiple college degrees, and he was driving and was totally independent. And for me, it was, as a student in the therapy world, thinking that therapy is the greatest thing and I was going to go out and help people and change the world and all of that, to realize that, oh my gosh, like, this person has received all of these services, probably from very well-intentioned therapists, and still hasn't met the goals that he wants, and there were many other participants at that program like him who were in the same boat. So I think not only myself, but my other 2 co-founders, Carrie and Jess, they had a very similar experience. And, when you have the skills to help someone, or that someone can achieve those goals, but under the parameters of the traditional healthcare system, with restricted visits and restricted days in the hospital, I don't know, I felt like very compelled to do something about it. And it just so happened that that program is no longer in existence. It closed. So our origin story is sort of reviving it and making it our own. I would also say, though, that the other thing, sometimes you can make a villain out of insurance companies or hospitals or things like that, but that's not really the entire story at all. When you think about this type of injury, it takes time to heal physically. So sometimes having all of those services immediately after the injury, you need to be able to revisit the intensity of inpatient rehab at a time when your body isn't still so medically unstable. So there's a lot of facets to making this work, but I do think, because we consider all of those things, we have been successful, and people have been able to attain their goals when they come to Empower and surpass them. So
That's awesome. How many years have you guys been around? Because you were going when we were still a baby organization.
Yeah, so we received our nonprofit status in 2011. We ran our first summer program in 2012. So we're kind of coming into our 12th year of summer, planning for our summer programs.
That is awesome. 12 years in. Have you seen any changes as to how rehab is done, or do you feel like it's become maybe more person-centered, or is it still clinically focused when it comes to rehab?
Yeah, I think that's such a interesting question. I think academically, clinicians are trained to be client-centered, especially occupational therapists and physical therapists. It's a huge focus, but I think with some of the restrictions and parameters, it makes it really difficult. I also think with this injury, what can be tricky is you want people to have as much neuro recovery as they can in those early stages,
Mm-hmm.
but you also want people to adapt to their situation and be able to function with what they have. So
Yeah.
it's
that balance.
It's a balance. So when you're trying to weigh that with length of stay, sometimes you have to figure out, like, what's the best way for this person to be as independent as possible. So, but yeah, so I think a lot is changing. I think the pandemic changed a lot, because there are a lot of clinicians who have left the field. So where you may have had some of that, experience and knowledge, people have stepped away. And now you have new grads trying to figure it out, and maybe they don't have the mentoring or the support, which is also something we offer to our new clinicians at Empower. So I think it's very multifaceted, but time and time again, I think it's about putting one of our values as an organization is putting the participant at the center. So the clients that we serve as this at the center, and they decide what goals they're going to achieve and work towards. And then the whole team works with them to achieve those goals. But yeah,
I
healthcare
love that.
system's tricky. Thanks.
It is. And, we all want to support one another and all as far as we can, maximize everybody's potential. And that includes maximizing the potential of the different healthcare systems. Absolutely. But you really are person focused and what is important to that individual. Is there a specific age range? Do people have to be a certain age, or is there a maximum age that one can participate in Empower spinal cord injury activities?
So we have worked with individuals from as young as 16 to as old, and I'm not saying they're old, but into their 70s. So we really have a wide spread from teenagers to older adults. And really, sometimes people think of spinal cord injury as a young male risk taker injury, but that's also not the case. As people age into their later years, like falls are a bigger cause for spinal cord injury, and they might present a different way. So really, there's a need, across age groups.
And where are your programs held?
So our flagship program was at Stony Brook University in Long Island, and we still have a program there that's 2 weeks long. And our West Coast program is at the University of Montana, Missoula, and that program is 1 week long. Very beautiful backdrop there.
That is nice. So if people want to participate in either one of those programs, do they go to your website, the empowersci.org? Do they call? What is the best way for people to learn more about if they want to learn, say, adapted fly fishing or yoga or dance or those kinds of things? How do they get in touch with you?
So our website is a great place to start. The applications for our summer programs, they always launch on January 1st. So all of the summer programs we have available are available in the new year, and people can apply right away. It is rolling, so it behooves people to apply early if they're really interested in doing that. There's also my email address. I know will be available at some point, but emailing me is fine. And then we also have a contact form on the website. So if there are specific questions, like should I go to the Montana program versus the New York program, we can answer those questions as well. Sometimes people have different interests or different goals. Initially, we had set up the program so we would have one that targeted more West Coast participants so they wouldn't have to travel as far to the East Coast. But for some people, having a 2-week program is really more important than the distance traveled to get there. So we do like to have a conversation with people about what program might be the best fit for them.
Awesome. And if people need help, I would imagine I am blessed to not have a spinal cord injury at this time. And I would imagine that if I did and I wanted to participate in these programs, even trying to figure out how do I navigate the transportation to get there, is that something that Empower Spinal Cord Injury can at least provide a little bit of guidance with?
Yeah, we can definitely provide guidance. And we usually in our welcome packets, we will give information about the things to bring, but also the best airport to go through and considerations. We don't book people's travel or pay for people's travel, but we usually do provide some tips. Also, if people are traveling for the first time, we don't typically want them to travel by themselves because we want them to be doing things like pressure relieving, so their skin is safe on a longer flight, and that transitioning sometimes if there's a connection. But yes, we do give some helpful tips and tricks, and we have connected participants in the past if they were coming from the same area. The two of you can travel together, and this is probably your best way of getting here.
That's really cool. And when individuals go through the programs, is there a cost involved? Are there scholarships? How does that all work?
Yeah, every year we look at the cost of running the program, and the price does change.
Mhm.
For our 1-week program, it's I can tell you what the prices were for this past year. For our 1-week program, in Montana, it was $2,000 for a participant to attend. So that included all meals, there a place to stay for the entire time, and 24-hour support from our residential aides, who are volunteers that help with self-care, transfers, basic needs like laundry if someone needs help with that, therapy, so occupational therapy, physical therapy, rehab counseling, and then all of the adaptive recreation. So the $2,000 is inclusive of all of that. But and then for our 2-week program, it's a $4,000 cost because it is an additional week, and it covers all of the same things. But most of our participants are able to receive scholarship support. So we offer a couple of different scholarships ourselves. One was named in memory of a past participant who we lost this past year, but was so influential. His name was Joe. And then since our inception, we've always offered at least one program scholarship for one participant. Sometimes we'll split that so multiple people can have help. But there have been organizations across the country that have supported our participants, like the Kelly Brush Foundation and some of the United Spinal chapters. Like there's a United Spinal chapter in Boston who's been very supportive, along with the New York City chapter. So there's usually a way that participants can be funded through one source or another. Most people don't pay out of pocket to come, although we're not insurance funded.
Okay, so not insurance, and then all the folks that are there are really kind of volunteering their time, their work. These are professionals who have come in from around the country to help people, and
Yeah.
it is something. Do you find that your participants forge bonds with other participants where they stay connected with each other?
Yeah. We call it the Empower family. And we do try, we're very intentional about fostering a sense of community that feels like family, because we know that when people come to us, sometimes they're traveling for the first time. Sometimes they're away from the caregiver that they've had since the beginning of their injury. So it takes a leap of faith. There's a lot of vulnerability that happens. So we want to create as safe a space as possible. So yeah, people do stay in touch, and in lots of different ways. And I love watching it on social media, but we also have like a private chat through WhatsApp. So people are always sharing their successes or asking each other questions about resources. So it's nice to see that alive and well. And then we also have something called the Empower Hour, where people who are alumni can come and chat about different topics, or just sort of have a reunion, if you will. We did a bunch of those during COVID. It wasn't called the Empower Hour at that point, but we did do a lot of that over Zoom. And it's also an opportunity for people who have been interested in Empower to drop in and find out what it's all about. One of our past participants, his name is Justin. He was actually instrumental in running the Empower Hour for a full year and having a panel of past participants come, so new participants can ask questions. So yeah, people stay very connected.
These days, that connection with each other is so incredibly, incredibly important. And you're doing really amazing work that is supportive to the healthcare system, but it's person focused in such a way that folks can learn some really cool stuff that they really want to know. So you had mentioned that there's a fee, but there's a lot of times there's scholarships so folks can go to these camps at a reduced cost or for free. Are you a 501c3? Are you a nonprofit?
We're a 501c3.
And so if people are watching and maybe they've been touched by spinal cord injuries, they want to support your work. How can they do that? Do you need volunteers? Do you need donors? Do you need people to share on social media? Any big events coming up? Anything like that? How can people help empower spinal cord injury?
All of the above, for sure. But fall is probably our biggest like fundraising season. So
Mhm.
we have two fundraisers that are coming up. We have a Nabi Tire that takes place in Andover, Mass. So it's an
What's a
opportunity.
knobby tire?
Navi tire is it's pretty descriptive. So the tires are knobby, but they're really meant for hiking or mountain biking, hitting some of those trails that might not be even Steven, if you will. So it's an opportunity for people to come out and try some of those cycles that are specific for mountain biking. But it's also we use it as a fundraiser, so people can have their own fundraising page. And then our biggest fundraiser is our annual gala, which actually takes place in Rhode Island, as a Rhode Islander myself. So it takes place at the Marriott downtown, that's across from the State House on Orem Street. And we're always looking for sponsors for that event, people to come attend, have a great night. But there's all different levels of sponsorship, from $300 to $10,000. So whatever people can give. But, over the past 12 years, we've been primarily volunteer run. So, and it's not until very recently that we've transitioned out of that, but still, we're still volunteer run. So our funds go directly to our participants. And there's always a link on our website to donate as well through our Network for Good site. But the gala is definitely coming up. It's always a fun evening. It's a great way to celebrate what we've done in the past year, to reconnect and bring people together, and also to sort of forge ahead and dream big for the next few years to come.
That is awesome. And
thanks.
Did I hear correctly that September is Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month?
It is.
That is awesome. Awesome. So
yeah,
I'm going to
thanks for having me.
So I'm going to make sure that the link to your gala is included in the information on this, so that anybody who's watching who wants to grab tickets or find out about sponsorship can definitely do that, because the stuff you're doing is absolutely amazing. And really, a spinal cord injury could happen to any one of us at any time. We never know. One slip and fall, one car accident, one bike accident. You're making such a huge difference in so many people's lives. I'm honored to have known you for all this time.
Well, it's thank you. But I also, it's a labor of love, and we have a lot of volunteers, and my two co-founders, Jess and Carrie, we've been in this together from the beginning. And someone told us recently, a relationship lasting that long is very uncommon. And I was like, that's true. So I think we're all a family. It's a team effort. And I do believe very strongly in what we're doing, because you never know, life can change instantly. So I think it's important to have services out there to help people rebuild after that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on today. I really do appreciate it, Liz, because I know you are insanely busy with this. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody, Empower Spinal Cord Injury, Empower S.C.I. It is such a wonderful program that is genuinely listening to the participants on the things that are important to them and figuring out how did they make it happen for the individual to achieve the individual's goals. It's an amazing organization. So I encourage you, if you or someone you know has a spinal cord injury, please reach out to Liz. It is a great organization that betters people's lives. Check them out. Check out their gala. I was blessed to be able to go to one of their galas. Truly an amazing event. It has stuck with me all these years since we were just an itty bitty tiny nonprofit. So I am grateful for your time this week. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. In the meantime, be well and be kind.
If you liked this video, please follow us on social media and subscribe on YouTube. For more information, visit rielderinfo.com or call 401-585-0509. If you have any questions, email deb@rielderinfo.com.